Hey friends, and welcome to the Happy Hour with Jamie Ivey podcast. I'm your host, Jamie, and I'm so glad you're here. Each week on this show, I invite a girlfriend to join me and we chat about the big things in life, the little things in life, and everything in between. Support for today's show comes from Just You Wait by Trisha Lott Williford. We all wait. We wait in line. We wait for coffee to drip. We wait for permission. We wait on a relationship to improve. We wait for clarity. We wait for freedom from addiction. We wait for hope and for healing and for miracles. And though sometimes silent, God is there through all of our waiting. If you want to wait well, read Just You Wait by Trisha Lott Williford. And be ready when opportunity finally arrives. Friends, welcome to the show today. You're listening to episode number 253 with my friend Stevie Estler of Built by Stevie. She's the owner of the female woodworking shop that is run by carpenters. Basically, it's an all-woman run and led and built and everything. It's women making the stuff at Built by Stevie. I love it. I know you're going to love this show, and I know you're going to love getting to know Stevie today as much as I loved meeting her for the first time when we sat down for this conversation. You guys, I'm still in Italy. I'm still eating gelato. I'm still drinking the wine. I'm still eating way too much cheese than one person should possibly eat in one day. And my kids are having the time of their lives at Pine Cove camps. You've heard me talk about them before. We're big fans of Pine Cove, you guys. And so my kids are there. I'm in Italy. But today, we're all listening to this conversation that I had with Stevie. Stevie and I talk about our shared love for road trip snacks, which is true. How while in college, she started a side job of assembling IKEA furniture. And had Stevie lived in the same city as the Ivies, we would have for sure hired her to assemble all of our IKEA furniture. She also started by installing ceiling fans. And these small jobs of building IKEA furniture and installing ceiling fans for her friends would eventually lead her to teaching herself how to build her own furniture. One of my favorite things about this conversation that we had today is that you're going to hear Stevie mention a handful of times when a close friend offered a word of encouragement that helped her to step out in faith to begin her business and also to begin the healing that she had from years of sexual abuse that she endured as a child. Now, here's where I'm coming in to give you a little bit of a trigger warning, and I want to do a better job about doing this. I also always want to say I am so honored to hold other people's stories so gently and share them with you in the hopes that you're going to see Jesus in the midst of them. That's what happened today when Stevie talked with me about the years that she endured sexual abuse. My prayer for every single show, and especially the shows that might be hard to listen to, is that we see Jesus in the midst of them. Also, I just want to let you know, if you ever feel as though it might be too much for you, girl, you just skip it. Go listen to a different show. It's okay. I want you to feel safe when you're listening to these shows. Don't stress about it for a second. My conversation with Stevie isn't about the details of her abuse, and we don't go into that, but we talk about what it looked like for her to walk towards healing and recovery and how that has happened over the past decade as Jesus has tenderly been with her through it all. You guys are seriously going to love this conversation. Okay, friends, I want to tell you about two things when we get to the show. First thing is we still have tickets available for Happy Hour Live on Friday night. And I might be overstepping my boundaries here, but if you love this interview with Stevie, I think she just might be at this Happy Hour Live on Friday night. I'm serious. I think she's coming to hang out. So you get to meet her. But all that aside, Happy Hour Live Friday night, August 16th. Go to jamieivey.com/August Happy Hour. My guests on stage that night are Ruth Jo Simons and Rebecca Lyons, two women that you love and I love that have been on the show before. Happy hours are so much fun. The Happy Hour Live, it's here in Austin. There's dinner, there's drinks, there's shopping, there's goodie bags, there's a show on stage. It is so much fun. Seriously, if you're thinking about it, jump on that train and get there. Another thing I want to tell you about is the newsletter. Do you subscribe to the newsletter? Go to jamieivey.com/newsletter. The newsletter comes into your inbox every single Wednesday, and it tells you who's on the show that week. It's just a little kind of behind-the-scenes update and telling you what we're going to talk about on the show. It's really great information. Also, whenever we have tickets go for sale on events, they usually come right there through your inbox. So check out Happy Hour Live Friday night. Check out the newsletter. But until then, here's my conversation with Stevie. Stevie,
Yes.
welcome to the happy hour.
Hey, thanks. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm in your town.
Yes, Nashville, Tennessee.
Why do some people call it Nash Vegas?
Oh, God. Tourist?
Okay. This is not a hometown thing.
No. If you are a local Nashvilleian, it's almost like, why did you just say that? That's weird.
That's weird.
Yeah. Nashville. Just Nashville.
How often have you been to the Ryman?
Oh, man.
Are like too many times to count?
Yeah. I go like 2 or 3 times a year. If there's a really good concert that I really want to see that I know is worth it, because tickets are pricey, I go. If it's a band that I've seen a couple times, I don't care.
I've never been.
Oh,
I know.
You need to come back and go.
I know, right?
You need to come at Christmas, because at Christmas there's like the Andrea Peterson show, Amy Grant, and
I love
Vince
Andrea Peterson.
Oh.
Is this Behold the Lamb, or am I thinking someone else?
No, that's Behold the Lamb.
Yeah, I've seen it, not here. I've seen
Yeah.
it in Austin once.
Okay, yeah.
So good.
The Ryman, it's just magical. It really is. It's just magical. You have to go, you need to come. Like,
Okay.
you need to come and try it out. So,
Well, I would want to go see someone that I loved.
yeah, Johnny Swim was just here this past weekend.
I saw that.
And tons, I didn't realize it. I guess I did not pay attention because I had a ton of friends go and I didn't go. Whoops. But I mean, it was Mother's Day weekend, so I need to be with Mom.
Where'd you go? Where's your mama?
Well, my parents are South Florida.
Okay.
But my brother and sister-in-law and their 3 babies, who I am obsessed with, live in just north of Charlotte, North Carolina. So
Oh,
it's a
easy.
6-hour drive, fast. From my driveway to their driveway, 1 tank of gas, 1 bathroom stop.
I like how you measure road trips. Like, how many times am I going to have to stop? Not how many miles
So
or
true.
hours.
I think I do that. I don't ever if it's over 6 hours, though, I honestly don't drive it. Like, well, that's a lie. I drive road trips for Built by Stevie all the time, but if it's to go see family and friends, if it's over 6 hours, nope. So, like, they used to live in Raleigh, and I drove 1 time.
How many bathroom stops? More than one,
Gosh,
obviously.
I think it was a 9-hour drive.
Yeah.
And so at that point, you're like, I'm tired. My body hurts. You've got to I drove with my dog, so I had to let her out a handful of
That's
times.
too much, yeah.
So it was the 1 time, and I was like, yep, no more.
Do you have anything on a road trip that you do that you don't normally do in life?
Yes. So I don't really eat at Chick-fil-A really ever, but I
Oh,
eat
I'm
at Chick-fil-A.
sorry.
I know, it's so good, but there's not really any close to me. And
Okay.
so on a road trip, there is one right on my way out. So I eat at Chick-fil-A on the way out. And then I eat sour watermelons, like Sour Patch watermelons.
Yeah.
I eat those and drink Dr. Pepper the whole way.
I love it.
I mean, it's just my thing.
I love Diet Coke, but I don't drink it very often because it's not good for you.
Yep. No.
But on a road trip, I
Yeah.
need a fountain drink of Diet Coke.
yes.
I'm going to need some sunflower seeds.
okay.
And I
sunflower
do
seeds.
sunflower seeds almost the whole, especially if I'm driving.
Okay, those are messy.
No, you have your Diet Coke in your cup because you got it out of the fountain.
Okay.
And then you have an empty water bottle that you drank earlier and you just spit in the water bottle.
Okay.
I turn into a very like trucker
I was
style
gonna
driver.
Do you think it's because you have boys? Like, do your boys do that? Or did you do this prior?
I've done this my whole life.
Always.
Or I get
Okay.
some corn nuts. I think I just need...
You need like the stimulation of
I
like
need to do
keeping you up.
something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's so funny.
I do sometimes do Bubblicious gum, like watermelon, strawberry flavor. But I mean, that only lasts literally for 20 minutes and the
I was
flavor's
going to say
horrible.
that's on a...
yes. That's like a...
That's being nice about it, yeah.
But I did it yesterday. It was raining really bad on the way home. And so I actually was picking my nails
Yeah, I'm
because
stressed out
I was
thinking
like
about it.
anxious. And I was like, put some gum in and just blow bubbles. And so that's literally what I did for I went through a 5-pack of bubble gum in about an hour.
Yeah.
Because it would get bad, then I just, toss it out and get a new piece. But I was just blowing bubbles.
The whole
to try
time.
and take my mind.
Yeah.
Well, because I kept on doing my fingers.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, speaking of your hands.
yes.
Did you like that? I'm such a professional, Stevie. Welcome.
Oh, thank you.
Look at this transition.
Just guide me.
Just so take you on the road. You build things.
I build things. I legit build things with my hands.
I want to hear about this because I'm so intrigued. And I'm going to brag on one of my kids real quick.
Yeah, do.
Because it's my show and I can do that.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
One of my kids recently, we had all this scrap wood from
Yeah.
his bunk bed, right?
Okay.
That we were just going to throw away or burn, whatever. We live in the country, we burn trash. And he took it and he had this idea that my husband had a broken wheelbarrow that didn't have the barrel on it anymore, just the wheel part. And so he was like, Dad, I have an idea. And so he took all of those slats and built a cart.
Amazing.
Aaron helped him. Aaron did the saw, and but my son was out there putting the nails in and everything, and I was so proud of him.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
To even think if I do this, and then put sides up, and then he covered the wheels. I mean, it's so cool.
Yeah. That's Hey, you have to start out somewhere. My brother and I, like...
So I want to know where you started.
Yeah, so my brother and I, growing up, lived in South Florida, and we used to skateboard and rollerblade and just like crazy outdoor kids. Never wore shoes unless mom was like, hey, put your shoes on because you're being crazy. Put a helmet on, But Matt and I built grind rails and ramps, and we would go to the library.
This is just skateboard thing.
Yeah, this is like skateboard. And we would go to the library, and we would get a book on how to build like a skateboard ramp. And so we built one. And that was it. That was kind of like my beginning stages of like kind of building. I go to college and I start assembling.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to Florida State.
Okay.
So South Florida, from South Florida to Florida State, 7.5 hours. So I felt like I was like out of state.
You're far away from home, yeah.
Really far away from home, which I loved. Because I wanted to go to like Baylor, and my mom said, no.
Yeah.
Well, I want to go to Colorado State. My dad said, will you go skiing on Monday? Mm-hmm. Yes, I will. And he goes, yeah, you're not going there.
Yeah. You're never going to do school.
Yeah, so Florida State it was. But I've been one of those people, like, show me how to do something, and I'm going to try and do it, and then I'm going to try and do it better and better and better each time. So I'm the person's like, hey, go to IKEA, buy furniture, I'll assemble it for you. And then I'm going to, like, time myself to try and, like, make it faster. Like, I'm just a weirdo like that. So I wanted a ceiling fan in my apartment, and one of my guy friends was like, hey, I'll show you how to install a ceiling fan, and then you can do it yourself. And I was like, okay, sure. So he shows me how to do a ceiling fan. Next thing I know, I'm making like $50 a pop installing ceiling fans for friends.
Well, that's a great job.
Oh, yeah. And people would be like, there's no way you can do it. I'm like, sure can.
Watch me.
So then also I asked for a drill for Christmas that year. And I still think this is so funny. My mom got me tools. So my dad's not handy at all. My dad's like straight businessman, would hire someone to flush a toilet for him.
Is your mom handy?
My mom is handy.
Okay.
And my mom's little. My mom's like 5'3", 5'4", little tiny southern blonde. And she would move like furniture all around the house. She would just like lift up one end, put a towel under it, put a towel under the other, and like drag it. And my dad would come home and everything would be rearranged and she'd fix something. So mom's super handy. So mom gets me tools. They're in a gallon size baggie. And then a Rubbermaid is what I had my tools in college, which is just still so funny to me. And that's just kind of what I did in college. And that what was funny is I would do all this stuff. Friends would tell their moms or, parents like, oh, yeah, Stevie helped me. So all through college, one of my friends at graduation, her mom was like, oh, this is Stevie? I thought Stevie was a boy because she has assembled all of your furniture.
Right.
Like, nope, just a girl. So table all of that for the next like 8-9 years. And I moved to Nashville, buy a house 5.5 years ago. Wanted to install hardwoods on the floors.
What were you doing? You had a job?
I had a job. I was working actually at Lululemon at the time. So I was working in like product on the management team there. And so like wearing stretchy athletic clothes, not like working not actually working with my hands. So I buy this house. My uncle says, hey, if you want to install hardwoods, I'll show you how. It's really expensive if you hire someone. So like, let me show you how. So he gives me his old miter saw. And what's funny is now it's like it was off by 1 degree, so nothing was like a perfect flat cut.
Okay.
But I didn't know. I mean, I didn't really know. And then with hardwoods, it really doesn't matter because everything's cut to the end and you can cover it up. So no big deal.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but go ahead.
No big deal. Yeah. So I install hardwoods with the guy that I was dating at the time, and like a couple other guy friends would come over and like help me on the weekends. And it took like about 3 weeks to get 900 square feet of hardwoods installed. So after living in my house for about 4 months, I was like, well, I have 4 bedrooms and I really need furniture. So I Googled how to build a headboard. I went to Home Depot and I asked like, hey, is there wood that I need to buy? And the guys helped me. They were so nice. I came back and I didn't design it from the website. I kind of took like 3 different websites and made my own, but I had the measurements and I built it. And then it was like, that was easy. I bet I could build something else. So I built a desk, another headboard, a dining room table, and
a desk. Did it have drawers?
No drawers. Just like a straight up desk. Very very simple. Like super super simple.
And then you built a table.
The table, that I fractured my wrist doing because the drill was so strong it flung out. And literally, I fractured my wrist. And
this is in your spare time.
This is in my spare time.
Wearing Lululemons.
Yes, wearing Lululemon and like. Yes, I'm wearing stretchy yoga pants.
Were you wearing your Lululemons when you were building your dining room table?
100%.
Yeah, of course.
100%. Because whenever you work there and you wear it all the time, you kind of like cycle out your clothes. And so you have your yard clothes that are Lululemon.
Your yard Lululemons and then your work Lululemons.
Which is sad because people, you show up somewhere and they're like, you're literally going to like build a habitat house. And they're like, we're old jeans. And I'm like a pair of black Lululemons.
You're like,
on.
these are old.
These are old. These are 3 years old.
Yeah.
Or 3 months. There's something new out.
Something in there. So you start just by teaching yourself.
I just taught myself.
For your own house.
For my own house. Yep.
When was your first, like, someone paid you money to build something for them?
Oh, so a few months later, friends would come over to my house and they would see that I had built a headboard. And so they're like, well, can you build me a headboard on the weekend? I'm like, sure. So I started building friends, like headboards. That's how it happened. And then I was working for another company. I had left Lulu. I was working for a startup company. Lost my job. I'd been there for 9 months, lost my job. And
is that startup company still around?
They're still around and they're doing super successful and super well. But just what I was doing phased
they
out.
didn't need you.
So, they didn't need me anymore. So to be totally honest, I was very depressed and very upset and like heartbroken.
Because you're out of a job.
Mm-hmm. And I had just turned 32. My life didn't look like how I thought it was going to look. Like, I thought this was the dream job. I'd probably get married that year because I was dating a guy. I mean, it was just kind of one of those, like, life never looks like how we think it was. We really think it is, in our dreams and whatnot. So after about a month of depression and anxiety and just literally every friend who had a baby, I would say, hey, do you want to go on a walk? Do you want to go on a walk? Do you want to go on a walk? So much so that my best friend was like, hey, I love you dearly. And she was about to have baby number 2. And she goes, listen, you can't keep on going on walks and you can only paddleboard, so many days a week. You got to do something. And I was like, well, I don't know what I want to do. And she goes, well, you build furniture. Why don't you just build furniture?
She spoke that to you?
She spoke that to me. She said, build furniture until you find a job. And so on August 20th of 2015, I posted on social media, hey friends, Stevie Estler is still doing Stevie Estler on Instagram, but I now have another Instagram called Built by Stevie. And so if you want anything, I'd love to build it for you. And that was it. That was it.
And that was what year did you say?
2015. So it'll be 4 years coming up in August.
Jeez.
Yes. And so, that was it.
I want to talk about starting your small business. Mm-hmm. And you talked about that month where you were in between. Mm-hmm. You got laid off. You don't know what you're going to do. Yeah. You're just taking long walks and paddleboarding and being depressed. Had you struggled with depression before?
Yes. I think I've always had depression. I think depression has been one of those things that's like come in and out of my life. And then a couple years prior to that, I'm still active, but I'm not as crazy active as I used to be. But I used to be this like soccer player, snow skier, snowboarder. And I have had 4 knee surgeries. Okay. And so I had my second knee surgery 2 years prior to me getting let go of my job. That second knee surgery, like, it really wiped me out. And my counselor had actually said, like, hey, I think you're depressed. And I think you probably should go on medicine just to, like, equal yourself out. Because at that last knee surgery, I wasn't able to work out how I had always worked out before. And depression. I mean, like, my endorphins were literally not getting worked out. And so I was on the smallest dose of, I think, Slitapran or something like that. But so I was taking that daily. But of course, it's like that only helps so much. And so it's, for me now, I go to the gym 2 or 3 times a week and I literally hop on the elliptical or the bike for 30 minutes. Yeah. It's 30 minutes. I listen to worship music. I don't listen to a book. I don't read. I just listen to worship music.
What you need. Mm-hmm. I always love hearing people who open up about this time in their life when they have walked through depression. And 2 things always stand out to me. Number 1 is that you had a friend that was bold enough to say something. And number 2, you were willing to listen. Yes. And I think sometimes those things happen not at the right time. So someone might be bold enough to say something, but someone's not ready to listen. Totally. And so the fact that God aligned it where your friend was like, hey, listen. Yeah. You need to do something. And that you were in a state of mind where you could go, she's not being mean to me. She's my friend. She wants the best for me. Yeah. Okay. She might be right. Yeah. And my best friend has literally walked through some of the hardest part of my life with me. We met, it will be 12 years in September that we met at grad school. And ever since then, like, she's my ride or die. Yeah. Belle is literally my ride or die. And she's the one that spoke that to you?
Yes.
So who was your first table? Did you build the table?
No. My first thing is Built by Stevie. What did I build? Oh, I built a bench seat, like a window seat. Yeah. I built a lot of headboards, like a lot of headboards.
And you were designing them yourself? Okay.
And then it's called like the Simple Rustic. It's still one of my like go-tos that I still do. I don't do near amount as what I used to do, but I mean, we're talking like 2 or 3 a month I used to do. Now, built-ins are what I do. And so, I mean, I still do furniture, but it wasn't the amount,
Custom built-ins. Like you're going to someone's house and working on site?
Yeah.
Or you build it in your place?
Well, both. We go take measurements, we build at the shop, and then we come and install, and then we trim out at the house. So.
I need someone like you in my Austin area.
Hey, I come to Texas.
I know. Come on. I need custom built-ins all over my house. But okay, so now here's something that I want to ask you about as well.
Yeah.
Am I right that you only have women working in your shop?
I'm an all-female run woodworking business.
Do you know of any other?
I know of one other group of girls, the Builder Chicks, and they're up in D.C.
Okay.
And it's 2 girls. They're actually coming down in June to like hang out and ask me a lot of questions. But yeah, I mean, I've had guys, don't get me wrong. Like my uncle literally
So did you
helped
start
me.
out saying, hey, I want this to be a girl-run shop?
No,
or what?
like 4 years ago, it was just me. And then I knew I was busy. I hired my buddy Josh because he had been doing construction work and he's in the music industry and needed a job. So Josh came and worked for me. Another girlfriend came and worked for me who was a singer-songwriter. And then my uncle was retired and he said, hey, I'm bored. Why don't I? This is the same uncle who gave me the saw. He was like, I could come and help you. And I was like, okay, cool. So he comes and helps me. We were so busy in my like 2-car garage that I had to have rewired for electricity because I kept on blowing out my house. Just like funny things.
Yeah.
Like funny things that you never think of.
Well, because you didn't plan on starting a business.
No,
You're like,
never.
hey, I need some money.
Yep.
Here's my side gig.
Yeah. My uncle found my current shop. He helped me set up my current shop. He worked for me for about a year, and then he left for an amazing job opportunity for him. And whenever he left, I had a girl intern and I had a girl summer staff. And after 4.5 months with them, I was like, you know what? This is really fun.
Yeah.
Just having girls.
Yeah.
And so that's whenever I decided, you know what? I'm going to be an all-female woodworking company.
It kind of
And
sets you apart as well.
It sets me apart. And it's, you know, it's like I'm not opposed to having guys work for me. But right now, this is where I want to be. And I really love that I get to train girls. And I've had a lot of girls who didn't really know what they were doing. And I literally trained them on how to be a woodworker. My current full-time girl came to me out of the blue, praise the Lord. She reached out to me, and she had gone to the Seattle School of Woodworking and Cabinetry. And so she's like my first girl who, like, she probably knows more than I do. Let's be real.
You might have a graduate degree, but I didn't hear you go to Seattle Woodworking school.
Nope.
Yeah.
Sure didn't. So Darren knows a lot of stuff. I've been trial and error. And so there's things that she's like, oh, I never even considered doing it that way.
Yeah.
So we're definitely learning from each other. She's been with me for 3.5 weeks, and already it's been such a game changer.
So you're running Built by Stevie. You went through this season, lost your job from the startup, depression. Your girlfriend says to you, hey, this is what you need to do. You start taking orders on the side. Next thing you know, you have a business.
I have a
you
business.
get your uncle gets you a place, all those kind of things. Running your own business has to be dreamy and fabulous, right?
Oh my goodness, it's all flowers and giggles. Man, it is one of the hardest things I've ever done in my entire life. Literally, it is. It's harder than any job I've ever had. And I thought I had hard jobs before.
Yeah.
No. There have legit been sleepless nights. There have been nights when I have cried into my pillow and just like literally laying there, my pillow is soaking wet because I'm stressed of where's the money going to come from? I have staff to pay.
Yeah.
Can I pay my mortgage? Can I pay my rent at my shop? Do I have enough business? And what's crazy is that every single time I would start stressing and I would start fretting, like within like 24 to 48 hours, the Lord would show up in crazy ways.
Yeah.
I would open up my email and there would be 5 new orders.
Yeah.
I'd get off the phone. My dad's a financial advisor. I am totally a daddy's girl. At 36, my dad still calls me little girl, and it makes it just like it's the sweetest thing ever. He's hey little girl, always answers his phone. Like if I call, he answers his phone. Like he was on stage. That's kind of crazy. He was on stage teaching a seminar maybe 6-7 years ago. I call just because I'm calling to like check in and say hi.
He answered the phone?
He answered the phone. He goes, hey, little girl, you okay? I go, yeah, Dad, I'm fine. I'm just calling to check in. He goes, oh, okay. I just want to make sure you're okay. I'm on stage teaching a seminar to a couple thousand people right now. I'll call you back later. I was like, okay, love you. I mean, what? Like
That's crazy. My kids will not have that same story. They're like,
oh my
Mom did not
gosh.
answer her phone when she was out of town.
My brother laughs because he'll call my dad, and my
he
dad
doesn't get the same reaction. Yeah.
So he's like, hey, will you call Dad?
Yeah.
I need to talk to him.
Yeah.
But anyways, I would call my dad, and I would be crying, and Dad, I don't know if I'm going to make it. And I will say, my parents helped me out financially. Because there was a couple months where I'm launching the business, and I, just bought $3,000 worth of equipment.
Yeah, it takes money to start a business.
Yes, especially in like woodworking industry. Man, the equipment is expensive. It's not like here's a $50 drill. You got to buy like the $300 drill for things to like actually last. You don't have to replace the $50 drill.
Yeah.
And so I would have just spent everything that I made. I would have just like maybe paid my mortgage. Actually, I wouldn't even pay my mortgage. I would have bought another piece of equipment.
Yeah.
And then it would be stressful, and I'd say, Dad, I need some help. And my dad would help me out, here and there, which was such a huge blessing. But yeah, it has been so insanely stressful to launch a business.
I'm sure there's been times too, because you never set out to launch this business. So it's not like you had a business plan. It's not like you laid up at night thinking, if I could only make furniture for a living. It just kind of happened to fill a need.
Yep.
So I want to know, have you always felt like you feel now, like I love this, I want to do this, or even in the stress? Because my question is, because this wasn't your dream.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
It wasn't my dream job. Now it is my dream job.
Exactly. But it wasn't your dream job.
Yep.
And I think it's so important for people to hear that as well, to think sometimes things happen.
Yeah.
And you get into something and you feel like, I don't know if this is going to work. And it ends up being the greatest blessing that you could have ever imagined.
Absolutely.
But your brain would have never thought 7 years ago.
Oh, no. I mean, I'm going to even go out on a limb. It even 4 years ago, because it was about this time 4 years ago that I lost my job. So even about this time 4 years ago, if you had said, hey, Stevie, in 4 years, you're going to be running an all-female woodworking business, I would have laughed and probably walked out of the room and been like, nope, that's my side hustle. I like to build on the weekends, but I would have never said it was full-time. Yeah. So we just have no idea what the future is going to hold. So.
I've been thinking a lot lately about how sometimes we can get really confused with what we're supposed to be doing with our life. And sometimes you just need to look around and see, like, what are my talents? Where's God put me? What am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah.
And then you just start, like, step by step, day by day. And next thing you know, you look up and go, oh, look, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
This is happening.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's an encouragement to people.
Oh, 100%. What's crazy is, out of me now running an all-female woodworking business, especially in the last 2.5 years, I have had so many women come out of the woodwork and ask me, wait, how did you do this? Like, I'm a DIYer. Do you think I can go full-time? And I tell everyone, I'm like, yeah, you can. You can do anything you want, but you 100% can go full-time. You're just going to have to work your butt off.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really hard.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of nights where you cry. A couple of the girls who I kind of like mentor, they're married. And so they've got it even better than I do, because they have an extra income. They have income. They have extra income. So it's like, hey, you know what? I might not be able to pay a mortgage this month, but my spouse can pick up the mortgage this month.
Yeah.
Where for me, I'm solo. Yeah. And so that's where a lot more of my stress has come in from. And that's where I've just been, I've been very thankful for a dad who has been able to help me out on, because there were times when it was like, it'd be feast and then it would be complete famine.
Yeah.
And in those famine moments, those were the moments. I mean, in the feast, there was even still crying and like stress because I knew a famine would come. But now I'm booked out. Oh, Lord. I'm booked out 12 to 14 weeks booked out on jobs right now.
Yeah.
So
that's good.
It's awesome. It's a huge blessing.
And you deliver?
We deliver. Yeah.
Okay.
My biggest trip was to New York City.
Wow.
So took the work van up to New York City. I had some good friends from college that they've got 3 little kids. They live literally in New York City. They needed a queen size bunk loft that they could not find anywhere.
Yeah.
And so, I built it in the shop, and then I drove it up to New York and I assembled it for them. Because all 3 of their kids, and they're pregnant with number 4, so I have no idea. I'm probably about to build something else for them.
Yeah, you are.
All 3 kids sleep in the rooms. The 2 girls sleep in the loft up, on the loft, and then it's like a play area below where their princess dresses.
I love it.
Yep, and then their little guy sleeps in a crib.
You got to think of those kind of ways when you have a place in New York City with 4 kids. That's crazy. Have you heard of Neighbor's Table?
Oh, Sarah Harmeyer is a good friend of mine.
Are you serious?
Yes. Sarah Harmeyer was one of my she was like my first boss. Yes.
Stop it.
Yes. So I graduated from college and went straight out to Houston and worked at Second Baptist.
Yeah.
And I was doing high school girls ministry, and Sarah was Robert Hurley's assistant at the time. And so Sarah was kind of my boss. So
this is before she worked for
Neighbor's Table and for St. Jude.
For St. Jude,
yeah. So this is literally 2006. So we're going back, that's 13 years ago?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Not 11 years ago. 13 years ago.
So Sarah's a friend of mine. She's been on the show.
Love Sarah.
Love what
I've
Neighbor's Table's doing.
Show.
Good. I was going to say I should connect y'all, but you don't need to connect in anything.
Sarah and I talk pretty regularly. Whenever she was buying equipment for the shop, for her shop, she called me, and we talk a lot. We do a lot of business talk. We're good friends, but we also talk a lot of business. And then when she is ever driving through Nashville, she and her dad have stayed at the house. She stayed at the house. She and a friend have stayed at the house. So
love that connection.
I love her. She's I love Neighbor's Table. That is one of the coolest things.
Isn't it great?
Oh, yeah.
I love it so much.
Cool
yeah, it's great. Okay, I want to switch gears with us for a little bit.
Yeah.
You mentioned something to me that I think is important to talk about.
Yeah.
It's important to talk about as adults. It's important to talk about as if a mom is listening. It's important to talk about if someone's listening who has the same experience as you. And so you mentioned some sexual abuse.
Yeah.
In your younger into teenage years.
Yes.
By a neighbor.
By a neighbor.
Talk me through what this looked like for you.
Yeah. So I was sexually abused by a next door neighbor who's just 5 years older than I am. And I thought it had started at 10. And then whenever I really got into counseling about 8 years ago, we started going back through memories and we realized it actually had started at 8. And then it stopped at 13.
Because he moved or you moved? Or
This is so crazy. This is so the Lord. So I was at a Christian sports camp that summer in 96. They did this like crosswalk tour and it was a purity talk. And at this point, I thought he and I were in a relationship. I really did. I'm 13. He's 18. Yeah, looking back, I'm like, I didn't even realize how old he was. You know? Anyways, I heard that and I came back home and I was like, we can't hang out anymore. And that's all I said. And it never happened again.
Wow.
Never happened again.
Okay, friends, I no doubt know that you're loving my conversation with Stevie, but I want to take a moment to thank our sponsors who make the happy hour happen. First, I want to thank Lola. If we care about the ingredients in the food that we eat, which we do, we talk about it here, and the beauty products that we use, we do, why shouldn't the same be true of our feminine care products? Did you know that the FDA does not require brands to disclose a comprehensive list of ingredients in their feminine care products? So obviously, most of them don't. Lola offers complete transparency about the ingredients found in their tampons, pads, liners, and wipes, all of which are 100% organic cotton with no added chemicals, fragrances, synthetics, or dyes. I told you my favorite thing about Lola, besides the fact that it's 100% organic cotton with no added anything, is that they deliver straight to your door and that you can change or you can skip or you can cancel. And when my hormones are going crazy, sometimes I need to change how much of certain products that I am getting. Right now, you guys, for my listeners, they're going to give you 40% off all subscriptions. Visit mylola, that's LOLA.com, and enter happy hour 40 when you subscribe. That's mylola.com and enter the code happy hour 40 for 40% off your subscriptions. It's amazing. Go, guys, and check it out. Okay, friends, I want to thank another sponsor for today's show, and that is ZipRecruiter. I don't know if you've ever had to hire someone, but sometimes hiring can be challenging. It's hard to find qualified candidates. It takes a long time. There's probably too many applicants that you have to weed through to get to the best one. But I want to tell you, there's one place that you can go where hiring is simple, it's fast, and it's smart. A place where growing businesses connect to qualified candidates, and that place is ZipRecruiter.com/HH. ZipRecruiter sends your job to over 100 of the web's leading job boards. But they don't stop there, you guys. With their powerful matching technology, ZipRecruiter scans thousands of resumes to find people with the right experience and invites them to apply to your job. As applications come in, ZipRecruiter analyzes each one and spotlights the top candidates so you never miss a great match. ZipRecruiter is so effective that 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. Right now, my listeners, which is you guys, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at this exclusive web address. Here it is, ZipRecruiter.com/HH. That's ZipRecruiter.com/HH. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Now, I want you to go back to 8, and I don't need you to give me any details you don't want to know, but I want to know, because you also told me you have a phenomenal family.
I have an amazing
family.
Yeah.
And I think there is this kind of misconception that something like this could never enter into an amazing family. And so walk me through that.
Yeah.
And then I also want you to touch on how your parents have walked through this as well.
Totally.
As a mama, I want to hear that.
Absolutely.
So take me back. Just talk about your healing, talk about whatever you want to talk about.
My healing has been it's been a really long road because I'm 36 now. So started at 8, stopped at 13.
And at 8, he would have been how old?
He would have been 13.
Okay.
So, and I come from an amazing Christian family. My mom is a local Christian speaker and author and is very, very well known in South Florida. My mom, I literally, bragging on my mom, that woman knows the Bible better than I would say 99% of pastors that get up and teach on Sunday mornings. It was nothing for my mom to, every day her Bible was out on her countertop in the kitchen and she was just reading through.
Yeah.
BSF leader, moms, and she started a ministry, Moms on a Mission. My mom is just, she's a freaking rock star.
Yeah.
And my dad is, He gets up in the morning, he goes and works out, he comes back and he has a quiet time, and he's out of the house by like 6:30.
Yeah.
And like on the board for CBMC, Christian Businessmen's Committee. I mean, that will forever be his ministry, and he is constantly bringing people to the Lord. And just, the man lives with so much integrity. It's insane. So yes, I have this amazing, amazing family. And I think that's one of the hardest things it's been for me, was that something so horrible happened to me. And then on the flip side, I have this amazing family.
Yeah.
So like back whenever it stopped at 13, I did not tell a soul. No one knew until I was 16. And I got in a fight with a friend. I don't know why, but I said it to her. I told her. She told her mom. Her mom worked at my school. And so her mom was like, we need to talk to your parents because you're 16. And I said, no way. And so, well, she said, yeah, right. And I will never forget. This is one of those memories I will never forget. But I had been babysitting on a Friday night. I came home. I went in and told my parents, like, hey, I'm home. I'm going to go read. I was maybe in my bedroom, in my bed, reading for about 30 minutes. My mom walked in. She opened the door. And the look on her face, I knew right away. I was like, she knows. Yeah. She knows. And she asked, why did you not tell us? Oh, Stevie, And then it's crazy because I can know I put this into PTSD. And so it's like I blacked out so many of these memories that I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to think about it. And so I blocked it out, or I yelled. I had no idea how much I yelled. But my mom's like, Stevie, you were a yeller. Like, you would straight up yell and just run out of the room because I didn't want to talk about it. So my parents did their due diligence, and they talked to a couple Christian counselors, and there was a Christian child sex specialist in South Florida. So they picked me up from school one day. We went. Let's say that my dad pretty much carried me.
I was going to say, I bet you weren't happy about it since you didn't want to talk about it.
Nope. Dad pretty much carried me in. I sat there with my arms folded, and I told the counselor everything. And I'm pretty sure it was 3 times. And on the 3rd time, he was like, hey, Stevie, I want to talk to your mom. So I left, and I'm out in the waiting room, and it's like, I will never forget, because it's like there were kid toys, and I felt so old.
Yeah.
Like, this is childish. I don't need to be here. But he told my mom, he was like, don't bring her back. He's like, she is on the fence, and if we push her too hard, you could lose your daughter. Like, she is so mad, and she's so angry. And if we push her too hard, we could push her the wrong way.
You were mad about what?
Everything. I was, no joke, a pathological liar, probably from 8, maybe until 16.
Because you're protecting?
I was protecting myself. If I did not feel safe. So inside my family wall. So I feel like I had 2 lives. I had a life inside my family wall. And inside that family wall, I was very safe, and I was protected. And out as soon as I left the confines of my family, if I did not feel safe, I overcompensated. And so I might lie. I would show off. I was loud. And yeah, just not me. Not me. But at the same time, everyone outside the family wall, they saw that and they thought that was me.
Right.
So it's like, even now, if, I have friends and family who are listening to this, they're going to be, a light bulb is literally going to go off in their head. And they're like, whoa, what? We had no idea.
Yeah.
Not that I have been closed tight with my story, but I didn't know how to talk about my story until many, many, many years later.
You said you have this after counseling.
Yes, I have BC, BC, my before counseling life. So back into counseling, so I did not go. I thought it was the pink elephant in the room because we never talked about it, but I didn't know. I had blacked it out. I had blacked out not wanting to go to counseling. So my parents they loved me really, really well, and they were there for me. I didn't talk about it. Literally didn't talk about it. I go to grad school, and a stipulation for me to stay into the grad school program was that I needed to go to counseling because I needed to deal with this.
Stipulation from your parents?
No, from the people at the grad school program. Okay. I had a rebellious heart, a rebellious spirit, literally. I've always been I'm going to push the envelope as far as I possibly can. I'm going to stretch that rubber band until it breaks. But I always stay within the lines of obedience, but I will stretch it as far as I possibly can. Yeah. And so they were like, you got to go. So I was supposed to go 10 times. I went 3 times. I would just go driving on Tuesday nights. I was supposed to go on Tuesday nights. So I went 1 or 2 times. The counselor had given me a book to read. And here's what's crazy. I knew what had happened to me when I was younger. At the time, I really hate the word molestation, but that's the word that everyone uses. I prefer sexual abuse. And so, but I knew that I had been molested by someone that should have never have touched me. Yeah. And so I read about it in high school and college. I read books on it because I wanted to know what had happened to me and why it had happened to me. Now I know from my counselor that I had my mind and my heart were not connected. And so at 8, whenever I was first sexually abused, the ties between my heart and my mind were severed. And so I functioned in 2 different entities. I functioned in complete mind, super intellectual. I wanted to know everything. I mean, constantly reading, constantly wanting to know knowledge. Not a lot of deep knowledge, but I wanted to know surface knowledge. I mean, I wanted to know everything, literally. Or I was very emotional and so sad and like, so it was literally one or the other.
Yeah.
And my good friends, they didn't know which person they were going to get sometimes. So the counselor in grad school gave me this book. And I was like, I've already read this. I read this when I was like 15. Well, she didn't like that because I wasn't going to reread it. And so for the next probably like 6 or 7 Tuesdays, I just would go driving. Like I would go through Sonic and get a Dr. Pepper and just drive for like an hour. And then I'd pull back up and my friends would say, how was counseling? I'm like, it was great. And that was it.
Wow.
And then I went like one more time and that was it. So I moved to Nashville 8.5 years ago. And my best friend who had told me, backtracking to like woodworking, she and her husband had just gotten married, which is kind of the reason why I moved to Nashville, because they got married on New Year's Eve, and I was like, this is the best place, so I just did it. We're sitting actually at Rose Pepper, eating Mexican food, and we're at a big group for a birthday party, and Mel is sitting next to me, and they had raved about their counselor, like raved about their premarital and, their pre-engagement and premarital counseling. And I tapped her, and I said, hey, can I get KK's phone number? And she looked at me. She goes, well, why? I was like, well, I think I'm ready to go to counseling. Oh, Jamie, the look on her face.
Did she know?
Did she know
about the sexual abuse?
Yes, she did.
Okay.
So I had kind of shared with like my good friends. I shared in like a weird way because it was like it's like I felt like I needed to tell people, but I don't know why I needed to tell people. But it was just like, I want people to know me. And so I would just tell them.
Yeah.
So she looks at me and she said, are you serious right now? And I was like, I am. And she goes, and then she starts crying. And I was like, wait, why are you crying? And she's like, because for the last 4 years, I have been praying for you to go to counseling. And she goes, it's time. Like, it's time. And so I called that one counselor. They couldn't see me. She sent me to another amazing female, Anne-Marie, who I now still see. And so I've been in counseling for 8 years.
Yeah.
Like 8 years.
Yeah.
And so that very first year that I went sometimes like twice a week because we were unpacking so much. Because at this point, I am 28 years old. And so we're going back to 20 years that sexual abuse had started. And we're going back to, 15 years that it had stopped.
Yeah.
And so that's a lot. That's a long time to not process, to not think about. And so there's a lot of unpacking. And it had been about maybe 6 or 7 months. And my counselor said, hey, Stevie, I need to tell you something. I was like, okay, gosh, I'm nervous. What are you going to tell me? And she goes, you have PTSD. And I kind of like sat back on the couch and I was like, but what? That's for like soldiers.
Right.
And she goes, and sexual abuse victims. And I was like, okay, well, what do I do with that? Like, you just, and she's like, you know what? There's another type of counseling that I really want you to go to. And it's called EMDR. And here's why I love my counselor so much, because she knew me. And because at this point, we are literally seeing each other twice a week for, 6 months. She goes, Stevie, do not go home and look up EMDR. She goes, I need you to trust me that this is what you need. She goes, there's a specialist here in Nashville that is literally one of the top specialists in the country for EMDR counseling. And I would really like you to go. She and I work hand in hand. You'll go a handful of times. And we will then talk. You and I will break it down later in counseling. And I said, okay. So at this point, my parents have no idea that I'm going to counseling because I have made this decision as a 28-year-old. I'm paying for it. So I call the EMDR counselor. And the price was...
And you're like, I'm going to need Daddy to help me with this.
Like, oh, my goodness. Yeah. So I call my parents.
Yeah.
And I say, hey, I'm going to counseling. And I've been going to counseling for 6 months, and I really need y'all's help.
Yeah.
And my mom, I think, started crying on the phone. And she said, okay, absolutely. What do you need from us? And we will help you out. From right then, it was like, wow, my parents are legitimately on my side.
Yeah.
And even at 28, I was like, they're there for me. Like, they are still here for me. And so went to EMDR, and it was the most life-changing thing I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
Because I always tell people, I had a screen. I had a screen that played in my mind every single day for the last 20 years. And I had learned to go around the screen, go over the screen, but the screen still played. It still played. And the EMDR counseling, we were able to remove those memories. And I mean, they're still there. They'll pop up every now and then. But I chose a black tarp to throw over my memories.
Yeah.
And they're in the back of my mind with a black tarp over them.
Yeah.
So
I love it. I have heard many people who've been through traumatic experiences use EMDR and get phenomenal results. So
it's a blessing.
I want to ask you a couple questions.
Yeah.
Just as someone who's listening who, I'm going to do 3 different questions.
Yeah, bring it.
I'll start with this one. Someone's listening and they're having these feelings of, I have parts of this in my story. I've never told anyone. I've never dealt with it. It took you a long time to want to deal with it.
Yeah.
So that makes me anxious because I want to.
Yeah, you want healing right away.
Right now.
Yeah.
Like, why are we
totally.
waiting? What are we doing, Stevie? Why are we waiting?
Yeah.
What is your encouragement to someone who is now hearing this going, I think I need to go see a counselor?
Yeah. It's crazy because I had this experience happen to me. I shared my story last April, and there was a woman sitting there who was 10 years older than I am, and it had happened when she was young, and she had never told her husband.
Right.
She'd been married for 20-something years and never told her husband. She and I talked, and I told her, listen, I go, number one, if you are married, you tell your husband. Like, you have hidden that secret for that long, you got to tell your husband. Number two, you go find a counselor. Find a Christian counselor, because you need to unpack that stuff. And some of the hardest thing that you're going to deal with is wondering why the Lord let this happen in your life. And, oh man, you're going to be angry. You will probably fall out of love with the Lord for a season. I did a couple times. And my friends are the ones, and my family are the ones who showed me Jesus' love, and I literally fell back in love with the Lord. But yeah, number one, you got to tell someone. If you have not told anyone ever before, you tell your spouse. If you can't tell your spouse, or your spouse, if you're not married, you tell your best friend. Yeah. But you find someone and you
say
tell
it out
that
loud.
person. You say it out loud. And it doesn't need to be neat. It needs to be messy. Like, even if it's, hey, I was sexually abused by an uncle, a neighbor, a friend, whatever, you just say it.
Yeah.
And then number two, you go find a Christian counselor and do your due diligence. Like, you might not find an amazing counselor that very first time. Like, you might have to go 2 or 3 times to find someone that's going to work for you. And that's totally fine. I was so fortunate that Anne-Marie and I clicked right away. Yeah. Otherwise, look at the fact that I went to a counselor when I was 16.
Yeah.
It didn't work. I went to a counselor when I was 23. Did not work.
Right.
But at 28, it worked.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those things. Like, you definitely you got to find someone.
Yeah.
And then you have to have a circle of friends, not just like your counselor, and your best friend. I would say you need a minimum of 3 people in your life that know your story, that are going to love you, because as you unpack for the next 6 months of deep unpacking, you're going to need those people.
Yeah.
Because you're going to leave counseling and you're going to need to talk to someone. And this is my biggest advice. Don't hold back, because once we always try and guard ourselves with people. And that was the one thing my counselor was like, you're holding back from people. You're holding back telling your story. You're holding back. You're not giving them room to say, no, I can't handle this, or yes, I can handle this. And so I would only tell bits and pieces.
Yeah.
And you know what? At the end of the day, I can share my story. It's on someone else. It's on that person that's listening to say, hey, Stevie, I can't take anymore.
Right.
And then that's fine. I know.
It's a lot.
You know what? That's a lot.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And I still love you dearly, and thanks for being a good friend to me. But I just know that person can't handle it.
Yeah.
So that's totally fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to have a group of people that are surrounding you, that are going to love you, encourage you, and that literally are going to probably lay on the bathroom floor with you and cry.
Yeah.
Because there are going to be moments that's going to happen.
Yeah, because you leave counseling, you feel like you just got beat up.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
My counselor was like, hey, don't drink.
Yeah.
That was her thing. She was like, you are probably going to want to go home and have a beer, have
but
a bourbon.
It will turn into
Yep.
too much, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, my next question for you is, as a mama, who I hear your story, and, this is like, God, in our top 5 worst fears for our kids, right, is that they would be sexually abused. Seems to be way more common. Maybe it's just more knowledgeable.
It's more knowledgeable now,
That's
I
why
think.
maybe that's a better way to say it. But, and you may not have an answer for this, but I'm just wondering, what was it that kept you from telling your parents?
Absolutely. Actually, I get asked that a lot whenever I do share. And mamas are always like, wait, why?
Yeah.
Why didn't you share? And my mom asked the same question. Why did you not tell us? I'll tell you why. Because it was a secret. And
Between you and the guy.
between me and the guy. And
you
he
had
said
discussed it as a secret. This is our secret.
Yeah. He said it a lot. Like, this is our secret. This is our secret. This is our secret. And at 8, you're groomed and you're young and you don't know, someone tells you something. And here's the thing. My family was open. Like, we talked about stuff, And so, but I think grooming
For sure.
for a good few years that I knew it was a secret.
Yeah.
And so it was a secret and a secret and a secret.
Yeah.
And so I just didn't say anything.
Yeah.
I did not say anything.
My next question is this. How has it been for your parents walking through this?
Yeah. My parents are amazing. So whenever I did start going to counseling and we really started talking about it, and I went home, I went back to South
Because
Florida.
they had to deal with some guilt.
They had to do, yeah. And I told, I was like, Mom, she asked a lot of like, why, how, and I will say it is still really hard for my mom and I to talk about. I can
imagine.
Yeah. It's because it's at the same time, I do want to protect my mom a little bit because I love her so much. And she and my dad were such great parents. And so they feel guilty. I feel guilty. Like it's a whole like guilt trip all around.
Yeah.
I didn't tell my brother until 2 years ago. I had been in counseling for 6 years.
Yeah.
And my brother was the one person in my life my best friends knew.
Yeah.
I had shared on stage at a women's event.
Yeah.
But my brother did not know.
Yeah.
And so, but my brother is married and they've got kids. And so it's a package deal now. My sister-in-law is one of my closest friends. And so when I told my brother, I did tell my sister-in-law.
Yeah.
So we sat down and I told them. And so it's like the whole family, like a whole family event almost. And they asked a lot of questions. And it was crazy because my brother, it had happened underneath my brother's nose and he had no idea. So like we had to talk about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how,
I think like I have some very close friends who are walking through some similar things like this.
Yeah.
And I think that, I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but I feel like there's just this, like brokenness is so difficult.
It is.
And this broken world that we live in, like it can affect so many people. And so many people can walk away from brokenness feeling as though I could have done more. Or how did I not know? Or what happened? I should have been better. Yeah. And I appreciate you talking about it because those are lies. The enemy just says, like, here's a spot I'm going to come in and I'm just going to capture people's thoughts.
Oh, gosh,
And
yeah.
I'm going to make them think things that are definitely not true, And so I want that to be an encouragement to anyone listening as well, is that if you're dealing with this in your home or you're dealing with this as a family member, as parents, we need to be diligent.
Yeah.
We need to be asking questions. We need to be talking with our kids about these things.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, this world is really awful.
Oh, it's sick. The world is sick.
Our world is sick.
Our world is sick.
And so I'm thankful for you sharing your story because it's going to be helpful for people who have experienced abuse and for people who have walked alongside friends or children or cousins or whatever, people who have walked through this.
Yeah.
So I know it's probably not easy.
It's not, but you know what? I now tell friends and family anytime I share. I'm like, you know what? That's darkness, and Satan sits in the darkness, and he loves the darkness. And every single time I share my story, I give Satan no room to stand. Yeah. Because there is light. There is light. There is darkness in my story, but there is redemption and I am reclaimed and I am light. Yeah. And so Satan has no room. He has no room in my story. And I think that's the most important thing, is that Satan has no room.
I love that.
And that, it's going to be really hard. It's going to be really, really hard because we do live in a society now that is so dark. We know more of it now because of TV and social media that we didn't know of it then. But the statistics, they haven't changed.
Right.
It's like 1 out of 4 girls before they're 18, 1 out of 5 boys before they're 18. It's sick. It's sad. Yeah. But that's those are the numbers, and that might actually be 1 out of 3 girls. Yeah. It's really, really sad. Yeah. But yeah, you have to bring light into the situation, and you've got to bring others into that light. Yeah. The more times I share too, man, I'll share with a group of women, and there's literally, I was sitting at Camp Well last April, and I don't know why I shared. I have no idea. We were talking about something. I do know. We were talking about your book because I had just read your book on a road trip to New York City, and I had listened to your audiobook, and I was so encouraged by you sharing your story. And someone had your book on the table, and I was like, oh my gosh, that book like really opened my mind on sharing. And all of a sudden, we're just sharing. All of us are sharing stuff, and I shared my story. And if I had not shared my story, and the light of the Lord had not literally shone through me and shown freedom, actually 2 of the ladies that were at my table would have never said anything. Wow. So that's where I'm careful with my story, but I'm not careful with my story. For sure. Because I do think there's a time and a place to share. And so there's some places, I just don't need to share. Yeah. But then there are other places if I feel a little bit of an inkling of the Lord kind of like pushing me and pushing me, I have learned to not silence that. Yeah. And I will share because I never know if there's going to be someone sitting at a table at an event or whatever, and they're going to hear me talk for the first time, and for the first time a light bulb clicks off. oh my gosh, something happened like that to me and I had repressed it for 30 years.
Yep.
Or, so stuff like that.
Yeah,
So it's
I
like,
love it.
I want, and I'm not on this like, let's go tell the world and make it, but at the same time, I want to make sure that my story is an encouragement. One, that when bad stuff does happen, you are going to walk out on the other side with the Lord. And I think that's the biggest thing is like the Lord's the game changer in this situation.
Yeah.
Because there are, like I said before, there were times when I wanted to run away from the Lord and I didn't feel the Lord's love. But at the end of the day, the Lord has always had me in his grasp and he's pulled me.
Yeah.
And he's pulled me back to him.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that's an important message too, because people in the midst, and you can relate to this because you've been there, people in the midst, they don't see that there could be light on the other side.
They don't.
They just feel the dark. And I love too, it's important I love that you're talking about sharing your story and you've done your work. You have been in the counselor's chair for year after year after year.
Yep.
And you bring so much hope to someone who might just be realizing this in their brain or might just be discovering something. And you can say, hey, I've done the work.
Yeah.
And that's how I can be here and stand. And that's how I'm alive.
Yeah.
That's how I'm not crumbling.
Yep.
Is I have done the work with the Lord.
Yeah.
And here I am.
And I think, and the thing about counseling too is I just want to throw this out there. The very first time I went 8 years ago, I sat in Anne-Marie's chair and I literally asked her because, the logical thinking that I had at the time, my head and heartstrings were not connected. Now they totally are, which is such the Lord being redeemed. And I asked Anne-Marie, I said, hey, how long am I going to be here?
I knew you were going to say that.
Oh,
how long is this going to take?
And she goes, well, Stevie, it could be 6 weeks. It won't be. She goes, it could be 6 months. It won't be that. She goes, it's probably going to be a really long process. And I was like, okay, well, like how long? And she said, the very first time I met with her, she said, you actually could be in here for the rest of your life. And I think if it had been a month before, 2 years before, 3 years before, and I had heard that,
you
I would have been
ready.
like, no way.
I'm out.
Forget you. But clearly the Lord's timing was perfect for that because I was ready.
Yeah.
And 8 years. And I still go.
Yeah.
I still go. Now I go for like check-ins.
Yeah.
Whenever I started dating a guy pretty seriously a couple years ago and we started talking about marriage. And I went back to check in and we went into deep dive. And so there are seasons, it's like the job loss or something like that. I would go back in and check in. But at the end of the day, there's so much underlining a part of my sexual abuse, which is the whole reason why I went to counseling.
Yeah.
But the great thing is that got me into counseling, and now we deal with everything,
Yeah, I love
which
that.
is so great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is that I really want people to know that counseling could be a lifelong journey. And I think there is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
There is nothing. We tell our friends things. And so it's almost the same thing. And when you develop a relationship with your counselor, that counselor really does become a friend.
Totally.
And you are really going to hash things out. And you need to. You need to have a safe place that you can go, that someone's going to ask the right questions. You can go, and then you can leave.
Yep.
And then you can go back, and then you can leave. And I think that's the best part, is that you really do get to leave, you get to process, and then you can go back and talk more.
Yeah.
With a person who is so incredibly safe, who, like I said, they're going to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
Because your friends and family, they're going to love you, and they're going to encourage you, but they're not always going to ask you the questions that you need to be asked.
Yeah. And it's probably hard to process some things
gosh,
too,
yeah,
because of the pain
absolutely.
and stuff. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Truly appreciate it. Okay, now I ask everyone at the end,
Yes.
what are you loving and what are you reading?
Oh, okay. So,
And thank you for reading my book, by the way.
yes, your book was so good.
Well, thank you. I was over here feeling a little honored. Thank you.
Yeah. You were in a podcast with Annie Downs and another guy in Texas, the pastor.
Yes.
And I listened
Luke Northworthy,
I listened to that podcast on the way to New York City. Literally had just left Nashville, listening to the podcast. And I had listened to a couple of your podcasts before, but I had no idea about a book.
Yeah.
And then you start talking about your book on the road trip, literally bought your audio
Oh, you're
book.
my favorite kind of listener, so thank you.
Yeah, and I listened to it twice.
Awesome, thank you.
On that same road trip, I listened to it there, and then on the way back because it was a really
Thank
encouraging
you.
book.
And I'm a fan of Campbell too, so.
Yes, I love Jen.
Yeah.
I love Jen.
Okay, so what are you reading and what are you loving?
I'm a huge audiobook fan because I wear headphones literally all day in the shop just to protect my ears. So I listen to fiction, like CIA, FBI.
I love it.
Jack Ryan type of crime. And I listen to 2 to 3 books a week. So
Yeah.
it's funny that I don't read 2 to 3 books a week, but I listen.
It counts, by the way.
Yeah, it counts. So I do that. And then I'm also doing the Bible chronological right now. I don't do it really daily because I'll forget about it, but it's like my morning routine.
Yeah.
And then what am I loving? Okay, I love infrared sauna. It's like my favorite thing right now.
Tell me this because I read that you said that and I don't know what it is.
Okay, so it's almost like a pod. So you lay on a bed and there's a pod that comes up over to your neck and you lay there naked,
Uh-huh.
or a swimsuit, whatever
I'm
you want
fine
to
with
wear.
being naked.
And it's just the infrared sauna, and you're going to sweat, and there's different levels. So
I like sweating.
I love sweating.
I mean, if it's appropriate. I don't want to sweat right now.
Exactly,
But yeah,
exactly. But
yeah.
in the right setting,
In the right
sweating
setting,
is
yes.
amazing.
Yeah.
So you lay there for 30 or 45 minutes. I just do 30 minutes because I'm kind of a wimp. Even though I love sweating, I'm like, ooh, I can only sweat.
What does this do for you?
It is, oh my goodness, the health benefits. You release toxins from your body. It helps blood flow through your body.
Uh-huh.
And because I stand on my feet all day in the shop, plus I've had knee surgeries, I have aches and pains. And so
I want to try this out.
You need to. You can also do tandem. You can go with a friend, and I've done it. It's really fun.
You're both naked?
Yeah, but you're in your own pod.
Oh, you're in your own pod.
Yeah.
I was
You're
like,
not in the
okay,
pod
this is
together.
inappropriate. Okay, you're in your own thing.
You're in your own pod. And yes, you can be talking during.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
so-
Like Aaron and I could go on a date.
You could go on a date and
We
do
could
a
be in the
sweat
same
date.
pod if we were dating. Because we're
If
married.
you're married, you could be in the same pod. Yes. Although I will say the pods are very small, so it might be a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But yeah, infrared sauna, I have a membership. I totally bought a membership, and I try and go pretty much every week, if not a little bit more.
Aaron does this thing where he goes and does the saltwater thing.
Oh, I haven't
where he
done that.
floats.
Yeah, you float.
Yeah, he said it's pretty relaxing.
What does that do for you, though?
I
Is
don't
it just
know.
relaxing?
I don't know. Just relaxing.
Okay. I want
I think it does something.
Okay, because in the sauna, at the infrared sauna, you burn like 500 something calories in
I'm in
30
now.
minutes.
Yeah.
So, maybe you had a little too much to drink
Yeah.
and ate some pizza the night before.
Yeah.
Sweat it out.
Sweat it out.
Yeah.
Okay, you're loving that. What else are you loving?
Okay, loving overalls.
Okay.
This is the season. I wear overalls sometimes in the shop, but I bought a pair of white overalls from the Gap, which of all places, Gap.
They're back.
They're back. And I wear them all the time. I guess because they're a little bit loose and
Yeah,
you don't
I
feel
like
like,
that.
it's summer and clothes aren't sticking to you. So I love overalls.
When Aaron and I got married in 2001, and I have lots of pictures of me
In overalls.
in
That was the
2000 and
thing.
2001.
And now they're back.
And now they're back, and I'm about to get me a pair as well.
And they're stylish now. Like the backs aren't like the high back. They've
yeah.
got the stylish back.
Yeah,
And
which is funny because I have pictures of me in fourth grade, and I had some Guess overalls, and I thought I was the the business.
Did it say guess down the?
I don't even remember, but my cousin and I had matching ones, and then they were back again in 2001.
Yep.
Which
overalls.
Moral of the story is keep your clothes.
Keep your clothes because it's all going to come
coming
back.
back, yeah.
The bell bottoms are back now.
yeah? Yeah.
Okay. Other thing is freshly meal service. I am so tired from being in the shop most days.
Yeah.
And so I am a meal planner. I do meal prep, but I'll meal prep on say Sunday, and I'll cook 3 or 4 meals
Right.
that I'll eat for dinner. But then freshly delivers literally an already pre-made meal. You just nuke it in the microwave for a couple minutes, and they're really healthy and they're really good. You just kind of pick no, I don't want dairy, or I don't want
Yeah.
fish or whatever. And I eat those at the shop every day. And so that keeps me from eating fast food. And I just feel, when you eat good, you feel good.
Yep.
And so, yeah, freshly meal service.
I love it.
Maybe they'll sponsor me one day. I need to.
They should.
Because I eat them literally every week.
They should come in and do a little video of you in the shop.
know. And then just taking a break, taking our one break during the day, literally.
Yeah.
So
I see it happening.
Maybe.
I see
We'll
it
see.
happening.
I would love it.
We'll name it right here. Stevie, thank you so much.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Jamie.
You were my first, what do you call yourself? Woodworker?
A woodworker, yeah. But now my hashtag is carpenter.
I saw that.
Yeah, so I'm a carpenter.
You're my first carpenter on the happy hour. So you're a trendsetter here on
That's
the show.
right.
So thanks for coming. Love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Keep building amazing things.
Thank
Keep
you.
investing in the generation behind you.
Absolutely.
And thanks for bringing the light to a really dark subject. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. Thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
on.
Thanks for coming.
Support for today's show also comes from Life is Good Ping Podcast. Join the co-founders of Life is Good, Bert and John Jacobs, as they talk to influential musicians, athletes, business leaders, and everyday people about the role of optimism in their lives. They'll also end each episode with a ping pong charity challenge where the winner gets to donate to the charity of their choice. The Life is Good Ping Podcast kicked off Thursday, June 13th with the legendary Ringo Starr. Subscribe now on Stitcher, Spotify, or iTunes, and add some good vibes to your day. Friends, I appreciate Stevie's story so very much. Her honesty and her vulnerability in telling her story for one reason only, that those that hear it would see Jesus, and that those would hear it would be encouraged. One of my favorite things was how she talks about bringing violence into the light and sharing with someone. We know that when things are brought into the light is when healing can begin. We talk about counseling, and if you listened at any time before on this show, you know we're fans of counseling over here and finding a counselor that's best for you. She talks about surrounding yourself with a circle of close friends that you can be fully real with and share all of the story with them. And I think that is so beautiful and necessary. I always say stories change the world. And listen, when I say that, I don't mean stories that you stand up on a platform and scream out to the world. I mean stories that you share with your people, your close circle of friends. As a parent, when I was listening to Stevie tell her story, I'm always struck by how the abuser will use terms of, we have a secret. And it makes me as a parent think that I need to continue to have these conversations with my kids, no matter how old they are, about matters of sexual abuse. And I hope that encourage you as well to do the same thing. I'm so thankful for the supportive family and friends that have surrounded Stevie throughout her years of processing and healing. If you have suffered through the loneliness and painful loss caused by abuse, my prayer for you is that you'll be encouraged to share with someone in your life. If you are a friend to someone who has been impacted by sexual abuse, I hope that because of Stevie's story, you will feel better equipped about how to care for your friend or loved one. And once again, the reason that we share these stories on the happy hour is so that we can point more people to the ultimate healer of Jesus. Today's show was edited by Chris with Podshaper, and the music was developed for the show by Matt Graham. Show notes are written by Aki Slockers, and this whole thing is organized by Lindsay Sweeney. Next week, my guest is my real-life friend, Dr. Andrea Holman. Yes, I call her Dr. Holman on the show, even though I rarely ever call her that in real life. But I do often say that Andrea is one of the smartest people I know, and she's a friend that I can call whenever I need someone to tell me just like it is, to shoot me straight. She is a gentle straight shooter when it comes to the topics of race, women in the church, and matters of emotional health. Our conversation is one of my favorites, and I'm so thankful that she joined me in my studio to sit down with me and talk about, honestly, things I'd never thought about before. You're going to really enjoy the show. Guys, enjoy your week. Share the show with a girlfriend. Have a happy hour with a friend, and I will see you back here next week with my friend, Andrea.